To give batters a different look, pitchers throw a changeup.
Your idea of a different look is sunglasses.
That's true. But La Quinta Inns and Suites is really taking the different look thing to a new level.
Definitely a major league makeover, starting with a bolder, brighter lobby full of comfortable spaces to let you settle in.
Or chill out in front of a big flat screen like Wingo would.
Oh, you know it. It's a changing La Quinta look to help you get in the zone and look sharp when you hit that big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
A great good morning to all of you. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. This is the captain. I'm Adnan Virk inside here for Trey alongside Golic and Golic Jr. As always, we are presented by Progressive Insurance, all of our phone guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And this hour of Golic and Wingo is brought to you by La Quinta Inns and Suites. Book at LQ.com and win at business. Plenty of sports coming up, plus an unbelievable story of mistaken identity for me. I'm not overselling this.
You have sold this hard, so this better be a good story.
Been sitting on this story for 3 weeks, I'm telling you.
Mike actually stayed in an extra segment for this story.
I'm ready.
Yeah, so this really better be good.
It is under the file of too good to be true.
Yeah.
Also, unfortunately, we were hyping up Dr. Laurent Duvernay-Tardif. That's right, he's a doctor now. He is, if you don't know who he is, the right guard for the Kansas City Chiefs who graduated from medical school at McGill University in Montreal. We were supposed to get him around this time, but unfortunately...
He had some plane issues, right? And we're going to try and get him to come on and talk to him tomorrow. So we'll get him on at some point, just unfortunately with the flights and stuff today.
It's fine. I did one semester of postgraduate studies, so we're essentially the same level.
Talking to you is like talking to him.
More or less. The doctor is in, so we're good on this one. By the way, Adnan, is this story of mistaken identity going to be better than the time you asked Jessica Alba if she thought you looked like Ben Stiller?
Kevin Nagandi has always said I look like Ben Stiller.
Right.
I've gotten it more than, with a tan. I've gotten it more than a few times.
Right.
Jessica Alba was not favorable in that
You
regard.
asked her that. You asked Jessica Alba.
I said, you worked in Meet the Fockers with
right,
Ben
sure.
Stiller?
Uh-huh.
I go, some people say I look like him. What do you think? She just stared. She goes, no.
Don't see it, huh?
I go, better looking.
Yeah.
No. I'm like,
wow.
Okay, so how's everything else
Felt like
going?
a lead weight, huh? Nice.
Yeah, don't worry. This one's going to be better than that.
Okay.
What's trending first, though? In the best sentence I'll read all day, Serena Williams wearing an all-black bodysuit with a red waistband won her first Grand Slam match as a mother and first match in a major in 16 months. 7-6, 6-4 triumph over Kristina Pliskova at the French Open. She fell behind 3-0 in the first set tiebreaker. Williams reeled off 6 points in a row after falling behind 2-0 in the second set. Came up with a trio of service breaks. So great tip, Serena, back in the game.
And again, ranked 451st in the world because of the, I believe, 496 days off that she took. Started out with a little rusty, as Adnan gave with the scores. I thought, and there's a reason for it, and Mike will read it, but I just thought it was kind of, to me, a little weird, the first line being in an all-black bodysuit with a red waistband. I thought we were on the red carpet here at the Oscars. Like, what are you wearing today? I know there's a reason that people...
There is, but still, the phrasing at the front of this, on the sheet that we get every day, it's normally full of stats and relevant information, second spectrum, and in this one, to get the outfit breakdown was strange. But there's a reason. Serena Williams tweeted from her account and said, "Catsuit anyone. For all the moms out there who had a tough recovery from pregnancy, here you go. If I can do it, so can you. Love you all." And apparently the suit helps with circulation. Apparently she had some blood clot issues post-pregnancy, which is something that can happen. So going out there and showing out for all of the mothers, the new mothers, which she is now part of.
As long as that's explained in all the stories out there, because when you read it and said this is what you came out with, you're like, wait, what are we doing? Are we doing a fashion statement here? But, giving the reasons in her tweet and the circulation reasons, I get it.
Right.
It just seemed odd, like the first sentence of the paragraph.
I mean, I would write Roger Federer looking resplendent as always in his all whites at Wimbledon, but that is
hashtag Team Fed.
There you go.
Also, some drama for the New York Yankees last night, taking on the Astros in what has become a budding rivalry.
2-2. Line to right field. It is a base hit. Here comes Andujar. Here's the throw. Andujar's in there. And the Yankees win 6-5. A walk-off single for Gleyber Torres.
Trailing 5-3 entering the ninth, the Yankees rallied to beat the Astros 6-5 in extras. Fifth win this season when trailing entering the ninth inning. Two more than any other team in baseball. The Brewers right now leading the NL Central, the leaders in that category. But Torres, that game-winning RBI, the youngest player in Yankees history with a walk-off RBI multiple games of a season. You're thinking it's going to be Stanton and Judge and Sanchez and Gregorius. Instead, Gleyber Torres gets called up and the young man already is a star for the Yankees, a team that's so loaded with offense.
Well, that's the thing. We talk about hitter after hitter. We don't even mention, as we mentioned, Brett Gardner, 4 or 5 with 2 home runs in this one as well. Torres, another young, big-time stud player, or at least starting out that way, I should say, and looking forward to a great future there. I keep thinking their pitching gets undersold as well with how well they are throwing, but they're just stacked right now. What a nice matchup with them. Obviously, everybody fighting for second behind my Cleveland Indians. I get all that, but, these are nice, cute games, by the way.
Not sure I get all that.
Well,
yeah, no, I'm not sure I buy that, but it's interesting. We mentioned the Yankees' ninth inning come from behind victories. The difference between them and the league, that 2-game difference, that difference is all Houston. The two of the Yankees' comeback wins entering the ninth have come against the Astros. Houston is 2-2 when leading the Yankees entering the ninth. The Astros allowed 3 or more runs in the ninth inning or later 4 times this season. 3 of the 4 games against the Yankees, including this game on Tuesday.
That dovetails perfectly with the thoughts of Michael Kay on that Yankees-Astros rivalry and why it has become so good.
David Cohn was talking during our broadcast in this game that it's like the Yankees and the Royals from back in the 70s and the 80s. I mean, you wouldn't think that was going to be a rivalry, but they played these heated series back in that time, and they became a rivalry. And to this day, they still feel something when those teams go at it. And right now, the way that ALCS ended last year, 7 games, Yankees couldn't score in the last 2 games in Houston for the most part. I think there's a lot of enmity between these two teams right now, and I think they're on a crash collision course to go back to the World Series again.
All right, certainly the Yankees and Astros, both teams looking great. And NFL news to pass along. Veteran wide receiver Brandon Marshall will sign a 1-year deal with the Seattle Seahawks, multiple sources telling ESPN. Marshall has never appeared in an NFL playoff game. He's also played for the Broncos, the Dolphins, the Bears, the Jets, and the Giants. 6 seasons with at least 100 catches. Amazingly, that's the most by any player in NFL history.
Seattle has been known for fantastic receivers, and those receivers certainly carry it like a chip on their shoulder, the Doug Baldwins of the world. They lost Paul Richardson to the Washington Redskins. I think he was second in receiving yards, over 700 yards. They certainly got height in Brandon Marshall, no doubt about that. They also lost Jimmy Graham, so we'll see what he could do. It was a failed experiment with the Giants on how he would be on the other side of Odell Beckham, who obviously got hurt. And I know a lot of people are bringing up, well, why are you passing up a Dez Bryant, over Brandon Marshall? Brandon Marshall signed for $2 million. Dez Bryant turned down 3 for $21. I believe was the number for the Baltimore Ravens. So it could be a money issue there, but we'll see what Brandon Marshall has left at 34 years old to help Seattle.
Going to be interesting. Seattle in a major period of transition right now, and I heard Darren Woodson on with Will Cain the other day talking about the fact that Dez Bryant, personality-wise, is also an interesting fit for a Seattle team that's kind of turning the page on an old era full of strong personalities in that building. You wonder how worried about that people still are with Dez Bryant, even though for him, the last couple of years have been quiet compared to what we had been used to, and this was certainly something that was part of Brandon Marshall's past as well.
I think it's more money as far as Dez, don't you?
Well, I mean, yeah. I guess I'm saying all these things can be a factor. We know money drives the majority of these decisions, but when push comes to shove, and you're looking at all the ancillary parts of this, Seattle's made a very concerted effort to sort of purge that locker room of the strong personalities that have dominated there in the past. That much seems hard to argue against.
Yeah, honestly, who knows how much he has left in the tank. But the fact he's never played in the playoffs, it's a shame because the fact he's been so productive and maybe for that reason underrated in many ways. Adnan Virk in for Trey today. It is Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. We'll get to Bryan Colangelo having multiple burner accounts allegedly and what this means for the Sixers moving forward. But I've been sitting on this story for a few weeks.
Yes, you have.
So I was calling the Padres game in Monterrey, Mexico. Flying back, I'm in Detroit at the airport. Picture this scenario.
Okay.
Black T-shirt, shorts. I got a Canada hat on. As usual, I travel. I made my Maple Leaf hat, red hat. I'm reading the Tiger Woods book, which Armin Katayan gave us. It's very kind of him. Excellent book. Him and Jeff Benedict. Check it out. Head down, couple of guys, late 30s. They're waiting to board their plane. They're talking about their fishing trip. You're not eavesdropping. You kind of hear tangents of conversation. Mm-hmm. My head is down reading the paper. Team Canada hat. Reading. And they're about to board, and the one guy turns to the other guy and goes, hey, I'm really sorry. I got to do this. And I hear the words as my head is down. Excuse me, Mr. Chelios, can I get a picture? And I look up and realize he thinks I'm Chris Chelios, one of the great defensemen in hockey history. And realized I had a second to say, I'm not Chris Chelios, or, no, of course I'm Chris Chelios. So I stand up and I go, yeah, sure, no problem. his buddy takes a picture of me.
No.
And the guy while getting the picture says, "This is going up on the mantelpiece for sure." And I look at him without missing a beat, go, "I'm sure it will be." Now they want to talk a little more.
Oh, no.
Oh, wow.
And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, how does Chris Chelios talk? I worked with Cheli. That World Cup we were watching last year. I worked with Chelios in the set. And in fact, one of the guys who works there goes, "Have you ever heard anyone say you look like Chelios?" That was the first guy ever. And I go, and Chelios actually looked at me and goes, "We look a little alike." I goes, "Well, not really." The fact that somebody of sanity and at 9 a.m. thinks this is amazing to me. But he says, so then I have to strike up conversation now. I'm Chris Chelios. So I say, because I'm in Detroit, I'm an idiot. I thought Chelios was the Blackhawks. They go, "All right, guys, Blackhawks fans?" And I go, "Red Wings?" He goes, "Oh, yeah, Red Wings." I'm like, "Oh, yeah. Oh, we had some good years for sure." And I'm thinking, I'm just talking as myself. And I was Chelios would say, "Oh, we had some good years for sure." You know, he kind of mumbles, kind of talks at that. But I'm like, no, I'm just going to talk like me, which is fast and fevered. Right. I'm like, "Yeah, we had some good years for sure." And they're boarding a plane to Nashville. And they go, "Are you on this flight?" Because I was sitting in their area. And I wanted to say yes, because I wanted to see how long I could take Chris Chelios. But, of course, I was going to Hartford. And I go, "No, I'm going to Hartford." And they go, "Okay." And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, what former teammate? Maybe Chelios played with the Whalers. No, I can't really think of it. And then he says to me, "Well, listen, it's great running into you, man. Like, I was such a huge fan of your career." And I said, no problem. And I wanted to say, if there's any way I could have done this, because he goes, "Listen, I'm sending this picture to all my buddies." And I wanted to say, can you send that picture to me too? Because I'm going to go on Golic and Wingo and say, here's the guy who thinks I look like Chris Chelios.
So that dude is sending around a picture with you, and he's telling people, "I took a picture of Chris Chelios," and you played along.
Chris Chelios is like 51 years old.
Well, also, also, be honest on this question I'm going to ask you. How tall are you?
Yeah, thank you. I'm 5'7".
You're 5'7". He's listed at 5'11".
Right. I always thought I was 5'8". I'm actually 5'7". I think Chelios is listed at 5'11". I think he's 5'10".
No one listed around 5'11" or 6 foot is actually 5'11".
Chelios is at least 3 inches taller than me.
I thought the height difference would be more. It's not. It's
sure.
That's
sure, 3 inches.
Yeah, it's not bad.
But he's significantly in better shape than me.
I would agree.
I gotta say, though, he's shredded. This guy thinks I'm like Chris Chelios let himself go and shrunk since his playing days.
I gotta say, though, facially, it plays.
Yes.
This is like if you
it's not the first time I've gotten Chelios.
If you did, when you can do those online things where you combine two faces and make a baby?
Yeah.
If you did Chris Chelios and Ben Stiller, you would make an Adnan Virk baby.
That's a good point. The only thing I'll say is the face, it is kind of similar, but I find it hard to believe that anybody's going to look at you and think, there's a former professional athlete.
And he was sitting on it,
yeah,
right?
And I don't mean that in a mean way.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe the CFL.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there talking to his buddy. Like, imagine in his head going, there's Chelios. All right, let's just keep talking. Eventually I'll ask Azure, hey, excuse me, Mr. Chelios, I hate to bug you. Okay, we got to send this picture, Chelios with his shirt off.
Oh, yeah.
And
with Kid Rock.
Pictures of me, thankfully.
With Jessica Alba.
With Kid Rock,
With Jessica Alba and Kid Rock?
No Jessica Alba there.
That is Jessica Alba.
Where?
With shirtless Chris Chelios and Kid Rock.
Not the picture. The picture isn't big enough.
We have Gretzky. We don't have the rest of the picture.
We don't see
I was going to say, I thought you were mistaken identity Jessica Alba for Kid Rock. I was going to say, Brett, lay off
there is
the
a picture out there that I'm looking at that has Chris Chelios, Kid Rock, and Jessica Alba, who earlier we mentioned didn't think that Adnan looked like Ben Stiller.
Oh, there it is.
There is a picture.
Yes.
The reunion.
Chelios and Jessica.
That's unbelievable.
That story is blowing minds today.
And still Kid Rock. Why is he in this many pictures with Kid Rock?
What is in the water in the last 24 hours that this is happening?
I'm just amazed at how much those guys are going to get crushed for that. When they say, you guys thought that was Chris Chelios?
The fact he said, this is going up on my mantelpiece for sure. I go, I bet it is. What's going to happen? Who's the first guy that goes, what the hell is that?
That's not Chelios. Hey, where'd you get the picture of Adnan Virk? Hey, you guys know the captain?
I just want to imagine that for years it goes unnoticed, and he finally goes to hand it down to his next of kin, his son, and he's like, son, I want you to have this. It's one of my most prized possessions. It's a picture of me and Chris Chelios, and he hands it to his son who's wearing a Cinephile t-shirt, who looks up at his dad and has a decision to make in that moment. Do I ruin a lifetime of my father's memories, or do I tell him the truth?
Oh, there's no doubt the kid tells him the truth, says, Dad, you're an idiot.
Yep.
Is there any way I could have got my hands in the picture? Like, I want to say, can you tweet it to a buddy of mine? My manager's Adnan ESPN. Can you send it to him?
You didn't
use
tweet it to one of my burner accounts quickly.
Beautiful. You didn't sign an autograph, did you? It was just a picture?
No, just a picture.
Okay.
I thought that afterwards. Like,
wow.
The best hope I had was that they were boarding then. Like, imagine it's a 5-minute conversation. Imagine it's 10 minutes. Eventually, I would have gotten tripped up.
While we're laughing at this, you know who wants to throw up in their mouth a little bit?
Yeah.
It's Chris Chelios. You guys thought he was me? Seriously?
Multiple Stanley Cup champion, played over 20 seasons in the NHL, as fine a physical specimen as you'll meet.
Dude, it is, because every picture I see, he's got a shirt off. I mean, I only pray I could take one picture with my shirt off. Every one of his pictures is.
And it should be noted, I'm wearing a Team Canada hat. You know, one thing about Chelios, he's a proud American.
Yeah, he is. Yes, he is.
As soon as he met me and he found out I was Canadian, he goes, oh, God, another Canadian. God, Canadian hockey my whole life ruined me.
All right.
Did the guy not see a giant maple leaf?
Good story. That's a good story. Did pretty good. Did well.
I can say that story was great, and then
turn your mic on. You are a professional.
Honestly, you're ruining the whole flow of the segment with
you're
that.
not turning your mic on.
No,
I
deserve it. I guess I'm saying Adnan's story delivered on so many fronts because we've got this great story. We've got this great what if about this guy and his future with this picture that is now a huge part of his mantle in his life. Right. And we found out that Chris Chelios and Kid Rock are friends.
Yeah, that's something else.
That's great stuff.
Wow.
All right, Adnan Virk, the captain, not Chris Chelios, in for Trey Wingo today. We are Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Mike Gold Jr. kind of to hang around just for that story and a little bit more, because Golic and Wingo is presented by 1-800-Flowers.com. Surprise a friend or loved one today with a bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. When you order a dozen multicolored roses for only $29.99, you'll get another dozen absolutely free. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. As crazy as that story is, even more ridiculous one coming out of Philadelphia. Our man Cliff said it's the worst day in Sixers franchise history yesterday. Brett Brown got a 3-year contract extension, which is now the footnote to the major story, which is that their GM is involved in this type of craziness. The story from The Ringer, circumstantial evidence of Bryan Colangelo, a 2-time executive of the year, using multiple anonymous Twitter accounts to support his work in Philadelphia, while also taking shots at some of his team's players, including Joel Embiid, Markelle Fultz, as well as former Sixers Jahlil Okafor and Nerlens Noel. Embiid telling ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski that Colangelo called him last night to deny the tweets were from him. I talked to him, he said they didn't say that, Embiid said. He called me just to deny the story. Gotta believe him until proven otherwise. If true, though, that would be really bad. Embiid joked on Twitter about the allegation and tweeted at one of the accounts alleged to belong to Colangelo. Colangelo explained his use of one of the accounts while denying his involvement with 4 others. Like many of my colleagues in sports, I have used social media as a means to keep up with the news. While I have never posted anything whatsoever on social media, I have used the Twitter account referenced in this story to monitor our industry and other current events. This storyline is disturbing to me on many levels, as I'm not familiar with any of the other accounts that have been brought to my attention, nor do I know who is behind them or what their motives may be in using them.
First off, why does he need a different account just to monitor industry news? I mean, I guess
why can't he just be Bryan Colangelo?
He's explaining the one burner account, and, it says it's not 5, but the one, I don't even get that one. Maybe, that's over my head. I don't know.
I understand some people that just want to go on there and be observers. They don't want to contribute at all. But this account, one of them clearly, contributing, clearly a part of the conversation. But there are some people that would rather sit back in the weeds and kind of watch things play out, aren't as concerned about being involved in the conversation.
All right. So, I mean, as far as his job, I mean, we have to wait and see if they can figure out if the other ones were from him, right? But once the Ringer was calling the 76ers to try and find more information out, 3 of those accounts went public to private, correct?
Yeah, 2 of the accounts that the Ringer discussed with the 76ers were talked about. They talked to and contacted them. 3 accounts that were not mentioned to the 76ers were the ones that responded. So seemingly unprompted, responded in kind.
Coincidence? I think a lot of people think not, as far as that's concerned, which is going to now lead to, listen, we've seen other situations where people are using burner accounts. We've even asked out there, is there a good reason to have a burner account? You can leave a voicemail, 860-506-5505, or tweet it at Golic and Wingo if you can think of a good reason. The best one we're hearing now is to monitor your kids to see what they're up to. But is Colangelo, I mean, he's going to lose his job, right? I mean, if we find out more about this, because basically he's supposed to run the whole operation and he's lost the trust. He's going to lose the trust of everybody, correct?
Well, and I was going to say, because part of this is there were supposedly details about a trade that leaked before, that were talked about from one of these accounts before, details about medical records for a guy like Jahlil Okafor.
Yeah, like it's not just, hey, what a great job Bryan Colangelo is doing, or man, glad they got rid of Hink here. Man, Masai Ujiri in Toronto was terrible. Like, that's one thing. It's obviously name-calling, derogatory, and ridiculous. But if you're actually giving away confidential information, and Mike Jr., in today's world, IP addresses. Like, these people are going to sniff out who these accounts belong to.
And this is the interesting part to me is it even going to take that? At this point, the trust is already fractured because of the headline, because this is the way we consume things. Right. We're given a headline right now. We're giving something that sounds believable enough and has this article attached to it, which I guarantee you majority of the people will see the headline of the article and will stop there. We'll get a few bullet points and won't read the rest of it and won't consider, is there a possibility this isn't Bryan Colangelo? And will that matter at all? Or has the decision already been made? Because how we consume things is we read headlines, we believe, and then if we're given strong enough evidence later on, maybe we'll reconsider, but it goes against the way that we consume everything. So in my mind, this guy's already done.
But I mean, I get that from a public view, but the team's gotta go more in depth, don't they? I mean, you can't just read that headline and say you're fired. I mean, they're going to have to dig a little more into this, right?
What did we watch Tennessee Volunteers football do this offseason? Make a coaching decision based on the whims of a Twitter mob. You can't tell me if there's not a strong enough reaction from the outside that we haven't seen it's possible to sway decision making.
That'll be interesting, especially if the team does do an investigation and they do come up with, at least from their side of it, that he didn't have 5 burner accounts, but there's, all kind of holy hell going on, with people, who especially are 76er fans.
That's why it's important. I think Joel Embiid came out and said, I have to believe him until he's proven guilty, because we know if you had lost the star players in that organization, what drives thinking in the NBA more than anything else? It's making sure that group is catered to.
By the way, I kid you not, there is a Twitter account out there that says not Bryan Colangelo's burner account. And that account has tweeted, it wasn't Bryan Colangelo, there was a second tweeter on the grassy knoll. And there you have it. Yeah.
This is well done. I want a burner account as well. I want to say that I look exactly like Chris Chelios.
By the way, to bring that all full circle, I get a text from one Stu Gotts that says, Team Chelios, and I'm so proud of Adnan. There's a little bit of Stu Gotts in everyone.
Every deck is made for standing on, but there's only one that's always had a way of standing out. So if you're looking to bring more style, comfort, and creativity to your life outdoors, call on the brand that's known for making the most in outdoor living. From decking, railing, and lighting to furniture, fencing, and framing, at Trex, we're engineering what's next in outdoor living. To learn more about all of the outdoor solutions Trex has to offer, call 1-800-289-TREX or visit Trex.com. That's TREX.com.
Everyone in the neighborhood knew about Bobby. Bobby, the basketball boy, they called him. Bobby wanted to go pro someday, so he was always out in the driveway shooting hoops. But one day, his mom came out and told him,
"Hey, your wife wants you to take out the trash?"
His mom was visiting, and Bobby was a grown man. He had kind of missed his window. Plus, no one had ever seen him actually make a basket. But on the other hand, Bobby had heard how Geico could save him money on car insurance, so he switched and saved. So it was all good.
Metallica, all right. James Hetfield, here we go.
That.
Wow. 30 for 30 podcasts have returned. Subscribe to 30 for 30 podcasts right now in the Listen tab of the ESPN app or on Apple Podcasts. Brought to you by ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Try it for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/30. Great to have you with us this morning on Golic and Wingo. Adnan Virk in for Trey. We are Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. We'll get back to some hockey conversation later in the hour, plus some football topics. But honestly, we cannot wait for the NBA Finals to get going tomorrow night on ABC. And Tony Rizzo of ESPN Cleveland kind enough to join us. By the way, speaking of 30 for 30, Tony appeared in the 30 for 30 Believe Land, which was so well done.
Yep.
Tony, Cavs, 4 straight NBA Finals. This year seem to be the most taxing. Nobody thinks they can win. Vegas doesn't think so. NBA insiders don't think so. The media doesn't think so. Before we get to those predictions, can you put into perspective just how amazing it's been what the King has done?
Well, guys, first of all, it's an honor to be on the show with you, Mike, and, of course, the great Chris Chelios.
Yeah. Thanks, Tony. You can see it, though, right?
Guys,
by the way,
listen, the run has been historical, and we've enjoyed it. And I love Stephen A. I do. I've met him. He works out of our studios during some of the finals and everything. Somebody please tell Stephen A. it ain't easy, bud. It ain't easy. I don't care what teams you're playing to get through the East. It's not easy. Boston played very well. Toronto did not, but so did the Pacers. So, listen, what we are doing here in Cleveland, Cavs owner Dan Gilbert talked about after the Eastern Conference Final. We're enjoying this, all right? This is the golden age of Cavalier basketball. We've been to 4 straight finals. We won a championship. We ended the curse, and it's all because of LeBron. In his 15th season, I don't think I've ever seen him play better. He is driven. He is ready to go, and even though the whole nation thinks that the Cavs are going to get swept or gentlemen sweep believe me, that's not what the Cavs are thinking, and that's not what Cleveland fans are thinking.
Well, I would imagine they're all thinking in a positive way, and one of the things they could use on the court is Kevin Love, and we know he'll join this series eventually, but will it be game one? What's the latest going on in Cleveland about that?
We were a little surprised yesterday because the way they made it sound, the concussion protocol is a day-by-day thing. So, as of yesterday, the Cavs weren't able to say that he'll be able to play. It sounds like it's 50-50 for game one, but eventually he'll be back. And, guys, I want to see if Tyronn Lue plays a little matchup game, and maybe we'll bring Kevin Love off the bench and put Jeff Green on Kevin Durant for a little scoring punch off the bench, and Green has been playing pretty well as of late.
All right, now to prediction time. Talking to Tony Rizzo of ESPN Cleveland, host of The Really Big Show. Basketball Power Index giving the Cavs a 9% chance to win the NBA Finals. What percentage chance, Mr. Rizzo, would you give them?
I'm going to give them a 25% chance to win this thing. I think that's fair, 1 out of 4. Guys, the Warriors, for some reason, they have not shown this year the killer instinct that we have seen them in the past. They look not lackadaisical, but maybe a little fat, PHAT fat. And I'm not saying they're not talented. They're very talented. This would be a monumental upset, and there's no way I'm picking anybody but my Cavaliers to win this. The hashtag is whatever it takes. And I know a lot of people think only injuries or something like that could enable the Cavs to win this thing. We have LeBron James. And if I have the best player in the game, we'll take our chances.
Certainly a good sentence to start with as we talk to Tony Rizzo from ESPN 850 out of Cleveland. His co-host, let's a couple other topics. Your co-host, Aaron Goldhammer, the day of the NFL draft, said that there were reports that morning of the draft, to go back to that story, we all thought that the Cleveland Browns were going to take Sam Darnold, as Shefty came out with some tweets that morning saying a lot of people think it's leaning GMs toward Baker Mayfield. Aaron Goldhammer said if the Cleveland Browns take Mayfield number 1, he will eat poop. Well, the Cleveland Browns took Baker Mayfield number 1.
We've been eating poop for the last 2 years here, Mike, with the Browns.
Tony, where is the whole situation with Aaron and when and if he's going to still eat the poop?
Well, he is going to eat the poop. It's just a matter of how we are going to prepare the poop. I don't know if he's going to go straight poop like the guy did in Philly for the parade. I think we have a number of chefs. We're friends with Michael Simon here in Cleveland. Aaron and I are good friends with Michael. He might prepare something for Aaron with poop in it, but I promise you guys, he's going to eat the poop. And by the way, we're excited to have Baker Mayfield here. Tyrod Taylor's a really good quarterback to sit behind for a year, so I like the Browns quarterback room after the draft. I'm a Baker fan.
And it's all about making bets, and another one was, or somewhat, I guess something along the lines of bets. The Browns head coach Hugh Jackson made the bet with members of the media the Browns would improve on their 1-15 record from 2016. They went 0-16. Now he has to jump in Lake Erie, and I think Friday was supposed to be the day for it. I know there was some issues of why he couldn't do it earlier, but is that still the date? You guys covering it? What's the talk there?
Yes, Hugh will be jumping in the lake, but I don't believe the Browns are going to open it up to the public because they feared it was, going to be a disaster or a circus type atmosphere. So I think the media will cover it, and I believe Coach Jackson will make good on his promise. Guys, I'm just waiting for my jersey from Demarius Randall. I'm one of the 544,000 that retweeted that one.
Yeah, this story, by the way, Tony, Demarius Randall tweeted he'd buy everyone who retweeted him a jersey if the Cavs win the NBA title. Seriously, 544,000? How is he going to do this?
It's a Browns safety, a Browns cornerback who makes, I think, $1.1 million a year.
No doubt. And I think it's $81 million if the Warriors win is what he will owe the public, but he's just having fun, and believe me, I know with that kind of odds, that's not going out on a limb to say that the Warriors are going to win.
I was going to say, as long as you get hooked up, Tony, that's all that really matters in this case.
No doubt. By the way, Chelios, you were great in the '84 Winter Olympics in Sarajevo, baby. Wow. I remember it well.
Wow.
Chris, what
thanks
a
so
pleasure.
much.
I mean it.
No, I love playing for so many years. It was just great to be able to go out there and got some pucks on the net and hopefully played good enough to get it done. That's why just generic hockey guy.
Fantastic story.
Thanks so much, Tony. Really appreciate it. Tony Rizzo of ESPN Cleveland.
Thanks, Tony.
Really big show. Check him out there. All right.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, we'll see. Where listen, you got to believe the Cleveland fans. I'm born and raised in Cleveland. I can't with my head pick the Cavaliers. Obviously, with my heart, I want them to win. But the bottom line is, when you start off with, we have LeBron James and you don't, that's a big thing. And another big thing is Andre Iguodala. Yes. Nobody has covered LeBron more than him. So if he is not right, or is even going to be playing yet in game one, and if he is, where is he percentage-wise? If not, it'll be Draymond Green or Klay Thompson that'll be covering LeBron. But Iguodala has done a nice job of covering LeBron James, and also part of that, Hampton's five or lineup, lineup, whichever one you want to go with. Yeah. How he helps on the offensive side or frees up other guys as well. But he hasn't been there. So that will be another, and you keep talking about Kevin Love from the Cleveland side. Well, Iguodala from the Golden State side. Let's not forget that, especially from the defensive end on LeBron.
100%. He's such a valuable piece, and this is not the Lock Warriors team of the past, right? There's no question about that. They have looked more vulnerable, and that's where you have that glimmer of hope for Cleveland. Back here on Cinephile, this is literally 30 minutes after the Academy Awards ended. Producer Dan Stanzik, my man Ben Lyons. Shape of Water wins for Best Picture and Best Director.
When Shape of Water was announced as the Best Picture winner, the first thing I thought of was Mike Golic. Golic is sitting somewhere in his Connecticut mansion, furious, throwing Doritos at the screen. The Fishman, come on! Sorry, Mike Golic, that the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences disagrees with you.
Yeah, well, I got a lot in common with them. SportsCenter brought to you by Discover Card. Become a new card member, and Discover Card's going to match all the cash back you've earned dollar for dollar at the end of your first year. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations do apply.
That is Mike Golic. I'm Adnan Virk in for Trey. It's Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Talking so much Cavaliers. Shout out to the great city of Cleveland. I just called the White Sox and Indians on Memorial Day there. There's nothing better, Mike, before the game, batting practice, you're watching the guys work out a little bit, and to hang out with Terry Francona.
Oh, such a great guy.
He's just so funny, and he's so loose, and he's so honest. You know what it's like having called games. You're trying to just find out information. Like with football, you're trying to find out, all right, who's your backups or where might you go later on, right? What's your plays, et cetera. Tito's so good if you say, all right, if this guy gets banged up, who's going to be your bullpen? He'll just go, yeah, I'm probably going to go this guy, probably this guy. We're not trading secrets here, right? It's okay. And I love the fact that he's a manager. Now, obviously, he worked here. He understands the media. But he gets the fact that try to help out the guys calling the game. You're only going to have a better product overall.
That's exactly right.
I wish that more guys had that approach.
Yeah, because some really keep it all close to the vest. And the more people you have in that room, I've been involved in a lot of those meetings where, the producers in there, tons of people are in there. Right. And they're less willing to open up. That's why I would always call coaches during the week and talk to them one-on-one, and they felt a little more looser talking to a player, or a former player, about what's going on. I always feel like I got more info that way.
Yeah, I think having Rick Sutcliffe there in this case is great. Again, former player, played for the Indians. Tito knows him well. So, by the way, Golic and Wingo are going to be at Progressive Field on Tuesday. I'd hope to have Terry Francona on set with you guys.
So. He usually comes out for us and hangs out with us on his scooter. It's pretty cool.
The fact he drives his scooter is unbelievable. He has like 20 popsicles a day. Just have the mute button just in case. Tito gets a little salty sometimes, but that's all right. He's entertaining in this colorful language. Once again, we're presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our phone guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. In honor of the fact that Cavaliers and Warriors are going to be facing off for the fourth straight time. Unprecedented in sports history. Dan Stanzik, our producer, with the Cinephile tie. And, of course, he produces Cinephile. Check it out on iTunes and the ESPN app. Subscribe, rate, and review. Thought about the top 5 tetralogies. By the way, which is a word I wasn't even that familiar with.
I don't even know when you said whatever that word is. Basically, this started after the show yesterday. We knew you were coming on. Yeah. We had our post-show meeting, and we were saying, because of the part 4 Cavs Warriors, let's look at movies that had at least 4 parts to it or more, and let Adnan, since he's coming on, let him rate ones that have gone at least 4 and see what – I didn't know that word was associated.
Give me the word one more time,
I don't even Tyrannosaurus Rex. I don't know.
We'll get that on
Tetris. Tetris.
Yeah, fan graphs. Etymology next time on tetralogies. All right, so as Mike said, movies that have been at least 4 or more. Oh, we got a center. Here we go.
Number 5.
All right, so number 5, we have Pirates of the Caribbean.
Okay. Is it Caribbean or Caribbean?
I go Caribbean. Can we get a rating on that, Brett?
Either one works.
Okay, great.
There you go.
Pirates of the Caribbean. Listen, swashbuckling adventure. Johnny Depp having a great time.
Not a huge Johnny Depp fan, but I like him in that role. In that role. Other than that, I'm not have never been a big fan.
Nominated for an Academy Award. Very entertaining. Great swashbuckling from Jerry Bruckheimer. Pirates of the Caribbean. They've had 4. We're putting them at number 5. Number 4, Avengers.
Number 4.
That's right. I should wait for the second.
Yeah, you probably should.
There's been 4 Avengers overall, which I thought there'd only been 3, but thankfully Brett corrected. There have been 4 overall, so we gotta get the Marvel Universe in there.
Right.
4 Avengers movies. Age of Ultron, Infinity War, obviously, huge money.
Like the Avengers. I'm big. I know you're a little worn on the superhero
fatigue. Yeah.
I dig them. I like it. I know what I'm getting.
Yeah.
I will never rate one probably higher than a 3.5. People were aghast when I didn't rate Black Panther higher than that.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't. I like them to a point.
Right.
But I like them enough to watch them and give them a decent rating, you know, and that's where I sit with those.
Speaking of 3.5, I gave Deadpool
Number 3.
I gave Deadpool 2 3.5 Maple Leafs. You got to see Deadpool 2.
I'm definitely going to go see it.
The credit sequence, unbelievable.
Yeah, that I know about now.
Number 3, Lord of the Rings. And we count The Hobbit as a prequel. I'm judging by that groan. That was not an endorsement, but The Hobbit's the prequel. Then you got the 3 Lord of the Rings. Of course, Return of the King is the last one, Fellowship of the Ring. And Mike has a pen in his eye right now.
Yeah,
you
I'd
can't
rather
take
do
the
this.
fantasy.
I'd rather do this than see that. Holy smokes. It's awful. And they're each like 8 hours long.
About to say it's lengthy, but fantasy trilogy, metaphors for life.
My wife went with one of them, I think with Mike to watch it. I think she wanted to jump off the back of the chair. I mean, and just, it was horrific. Horrific.
Ian McKellen, Gandalf, thou shalt not cross.
Never ever got into those. I would rather do so many other things than go see one of those movies. So I can't stand that.
But you love Game of Thrones.
Oh, without question.
So the fantasy adventure you like, you just don't care.
I just don't care for that. In Game of Thrones, I mean, bad guy's got a dragon, so you know what I mean.
Number 2.
Okay, this one I think you're on board with. The Rocky franchise.
Oh, absolally.
And we'll cut it off at 4.
I was going to say, how many are there?
I was going to say, we got 6, but we'll because Rocky 1 actually won Best Picture. It's a great film. Right. Announced Stallone's arrival on the scene.
One of the only movies where I got up and cheered at the end.
Right?
Yeah.
It's that emotional.
Where in that last scene, everybody was just, it was very, very cool.
And for those who haven't seen it, part of the charm of the fact he doesn't win. Right?
That's exactly right.
People who had never seen Rocky were amazed. Like, he doesn't win.
Some would think that's a spoiler, there, but it was 1976. So we're going to let that one slide. But I'm with you.
Right?
He didn't win. It's exactly right.
But he went the distance. Yep. Adrian, that's the whole charm.
Oh, it was fantastic. I completely am with you there. At what point in that one did it stop being good to you?
Well, this is the thing. Rocky 4, I'm cutting it off. Rocky 4 is so bad. It's
was
good.
5 with Tommy Morrison?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the one that was
horrific.
an absolute abysmal.
Yeah, it was. Okay.
Number 1.
Smokes. That sounded like Scottie Pippen yesterday.
Speaking of so many, Star Wars. Now, you've got 8 to choose from, so I'll take the middle 3, the 4, 5, 6, the Lucas ones, so Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and then I can just squeeze in number 4 one and just go that Attack of the Clones and go for that.
I'm for that. I'm a big Star Wars guy. I found I'm amazed at the number of people that aren't. Now, way more are because just look at the receipts.
Sure.
And how much it's made.
Although Solo made $100 million this opening day weekend, that was considered
disappointing. You made $100 million.
Right. Ron Howard was tweeting like, "Oh, well, sorry for the disappointment."
Did you see that one?
I haven't seen it yet.
I want to see it as well. I definitely want to see it, but I would go with that. I'm a big Star Wars guy. Yeah.
Also garnering votes, Mission Impossible, but I can't stand Tom Cruise. But he's just a clown. The best video he's ever given us when he was on Oprah and just kept jumping up and down like a clown because you realize he's a real psychotic.
I just can't think of that guy at that size being any kind of an action hero at all.
Exactly.
My daughter could beat him up.
Right. If Tom Cruise is an action hero, then I look like Chris Chelios. Actually, I kind of do like Chris Chelios. All right, coming up next, one of our colleagues thinks the Brothers get way too much credit. Golic and Wingo. It's next, ESPN Radio.
To give batters a different look, pitchers throw a changeup.
Your idea of a different look is sunglasses.
That's true. But La Quinta Inns and Suites is really taking the different look thing to a new level.
Definitely a major league makeover, starting with a bolder, brighter lobby full of comfortable spaces to let you settle in.
Or chill out in front of a big flat screen like Wingo would.
Oh, you know it. It's a changing La Quinta look to help you get in the zone and look sharp when you hit that big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
I'd say only Cliff can go from Metallica to Common. I mean, this is fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
On the beats today. Adnan Virk in for Trey today, the captain. It's Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Great to have you with us for the final hour of the program. As always, we are presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our phone guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. We'll get to Stephen A. Smith in just a second. We were just talking about great tetralogies because, things coming in 4, the Cavs and Warriors for the 4th straight time. Of course, with Cinephile and the movies, I went with 4 great movies that I've done at least 4, so Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. You're not a Lord of the Rings fan.
No, I am not.
Which Mike Jr. chimed in. He texted because you love Game of Thrones.
It doesn't mean I like sci-fi, but I don't like every sci-fi movie ever made. I mean, I like the genre. It doesn't mean I like every movie that's made in that genre.
There's dragons in both.
Yeah, there are dragons in both. Lord of the Rings. There are so many things I would rather do. I said I would never run a marathon in my life. I would try that before watching Lord of the Rings because it would take me as long to do both.
The bad guy is the dragon in The Hobbit, but I hear you. You're not breathing fire here.
No.
Speaking of where there's smoke, there's fire. Statement from the Philadelphia 76ers organization. An online media outlet filed a story linking multiple social media accounts to 76ers president of basketball operations, Bryan Colangelo. The allegations are serious, and we have commenced an independent investigation into the matter. We will report the results of that investigation as soon as it is concluded. Obviously, if Bryan Colangelo did this, I mean, that is
tested for crap.
I don't know if they're going to go to that level with regards to what they're going to do with him here, but, I mean, it's pretty bad. That was the voice of Stephen A. Smith, of course, the star of First Take, and you hear him on the Stephen A. Smith Show, 1 to 3 on ESPN Radio. Stephen A., we'll get to the Cavs and Warriors in just a second, but honestly, what is your reaction to this Bryan Colangelo story?
Well, if it's true, it's a bad look. There's no question about it. I mean, you should have better and more important thing to do with your time than something like that. And obviously having a burner account, you're trying to disguise your identity to put out misinformation or to address things in a clandestine fashion. Whatever the case may be, it's pretty unbecoming of an executive. It's not a good look at all. And if it were a bad look for a player like Kevin Durant, you know damn well it's going to be a very, very bad look for an executive. Who is not a player. You're supposed to hold yourself to a higher standard, and certainly this doesn't apply. So it will be a very, very bad look for Bryan Colangelo, and knowing the Sixers organization the way that I do, there will be repercussions if indeed it is true. I don't know what they will be, but there's no mistake in my mind that there will be repercussions.
Well, I guess that's the question, Stephen, because whether they can prove it or not, I mean, I don't know if we're going to get to the point of them saying, well, we can't say it was him, but we can't say it wasn't him. Then you're really in limbo on what do you do, because you almost feel like, and if you would agree or disagree, that he's lost the trust of the organization, especially the players, and it would almost seem like he would probably have to go.
Well, you know what? Again, it's hard to say he would have to go if you can't definitively say he did that. If you can't definitively say it was him and attach incendiary or inflammatory tweets or whatever the case may be to him, whether it was his direct account or a burner account or whatever, I mean, the bottom line is that, again, you're innocent until proven guilty. Obviously, we live in a different age where guilt applies to the court of public opinion and what have you, and you just never know how that will turn out with an organization. But I think that when it comes to Colangelo, particularly considering the fact that his father was instrumental in getting him that job, and Jerry Colangelo is one of the most respected individuals in the history of the game, it would be really difficult to just sit up there and say, all right, you're gone, even though there's no proof that it was you that did those things. But if they have proof, it's not beyond the realms of comprehension, but they would have to have that.
Talking with Stephen A. Smith right now on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Always see Stephen A. on First Take and his radio show, The Stephen A. Smith Show. Warriors beat the Rockets coming back from a first-half deficit, Stephen A., just to revisit Game 7, and it was another third quarter. What does it say about this team? Obviously, they get these early deficits, which is troubling, but their perseverance and resilience to dominate the third quarter, what does that say about this team moving forward now for the finals?
You have to give credit to the coaching. There's no question about that. And then you also have to take into account the possibility that the players may be just toying around with opponents, figuring them out in the first half, and then all of a sudden going into complete attack and assault mode and taking guys out, because that's really the only explanation. If it was against a particular opponent or something like that, they might have their number. But they do it against everybody. They give the impression that essentially they're just toying with you. That's how awesome they are. And by the way, guys, if we get cut off, my apologies. I'm literally talking to you while I'm driving inside the Lincoln Tunnel.
Oh, well, like that, no problem at all. Whatever happens, happens. As far as this game and the matchup, we're waiting to hear about Kevin Love if he's coming back, but I want to go from the Andre Iguodala side of this thing, especially because he's a guy who's defensed LeBron more than basically anybody out there. And if he's not ready to go or not 100%, how much does that affect this series?
I think it could have a profound effect on the series because he's an elite defender. Even though Klay Thompson can defend, he's a bit smaller than Iguodala. That would be tougher against LeBron. You've got Draymond Green. You don't want him against LeBron because he's your utility man extraordinaire, and he's as versatile as they come, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. But if you pull him on LeBron, you really compromise your defense as well. And so you got to look at it from that standpoint and say they need Iguodala for this series because of who they're going up against. Not to mention the fact that Cleveland's defense has been better with Love on the bench when you put Jeff Green and Tristan Thompson in there. They're a better defensive team and they're a better rebounding team, particularly on the offensive side of the ball, on the offensive boards. So if you're getting offensive rebounds, then you're giving LeBron more opportunities to hurt you. And the Golden State Warriors certainly don't want to do that.
Talking with Stephen A. Smith right now. Stephen A., that rant you had on LeBron was unbelievable. We played it earlier, talking about those who are saying that this is his greatest accomplishment. Seriously, what do you make of people like Jeff Van Gundy saying LeBron making this finals is the Kings' crowning achievement?
I think it's utterly ridiculous, and no disrespect to Jeff Van Gundy, who I love dearly, but it's utterly ridiculous. And I've told him, and I'm looking for Isaiah Thomas. He and I are supposed to have a friendly argument in the next few hours or whatever, because I can't believe the blasphemy that he spewed. I don't.
Oh, right.
From the older generation, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we got you. Go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, I'm talking about, I don't understand how the guys can come from the older generation and ignore the level of competition and the role that one had to travel towards prosperity and just shove all of that aside. It's not just about the individual player. It's about the players they're going against, the teams that they're going against, and the system in which they play. Today, I go up to the great Hubie Brown the other day, and he's forgotten more basketball than most of us know. And Hubie Brown sat up there and dismissed the argument and said, come to me when you can put hand checking back into the game and forearm checking, and then come talk to me. Because having to deal with that is nightmarish for any player. And this generation of players didn't have to deal with that because of the rule changes. And that's where I'm going with it. Whether it's Hubie, whether it's Jerry West, the list goes on and on. You talk to people and no one denies the greatness of LeBron James. We know he's the greatest player of this generation, and we know he would have been great in any generation. But when you consider the rules that have been implemented and the level of talent and how that's been compromised, how it's a softer game, to sit up there and just ignore what MJ had to go through to be MJ and favor LeBron over that, it's just beyond comprehension for me.
So, and listen, as far as these three series that they just played, I agree, because and he can only play the competition that's out there, so it's not on LeBron at all. But to say it's his greatest accomplishment, I would agree with you from these three series limited to that, which I know what you're talking about now, because I'm from Cleveland and I'm doing this with my heart because my head says there's no way they're beating Golden State. What if LeBron's team beats Golden State? How much will that change your view?
Well, it doesn't change my view because of what I said about the system that we're playing in. I mean, I think that Golden State is an all-time great team because of their marksmanship, the aerial assault. But, Golic, you can speak to this even though you were in the NFL instead of the NBA. If you were playing basketball and you could get away with slapping people's arm and slapping them on the shoulders and hand-checking and forearming and elbowing them and doing all types of stuff, if you could get away with all of that, how effective would those offensive players be? And I question rhetorically, because let's parlay that into football. You've got guys, and I don't want to imply that any NFL player is a pretty boy, because to be in the NFL, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that's a man's league. But let's be clear about something here. If there's an elevated level of physicality that you could get away with, have you not seen stars, Golic and Adnan, where you're talking about guys that they're great when you can't touch them, but the minute you can get physical with them, they're compromised. That's what I'm looking at. When I think about it, wasn't just when you from the Jordans and the Kobes, the Iversons and others, it wasn't just their greatness as athletes and as talent. It was their toughness. You could come at them with rough rider tactics, and they still kept coming. It's who they are. Those are the kind of things that I'm talking about. And when you don't have to go up against that night in and night out, because the rules have been massaged to such a degree that it's almost damn near like having a massage. Well, then guess what? It's a different ball game. And that's what I pay attention to. It's not a knock against LeBron in terms of his individual talent. It's a knock against errors. And this is my last point on this that I really want to make. I've said this before. If y'all recall, once upon a time, LeBron's heart was questioned. Once upon a time, his mental toughness was questioned. That is absolutely not the case anymore. Where he is right now is all-time greatness, top 2, top 3, all time. But let's be clear. If you had a questionable level of mental toughness and heart in the early stages, back in the day, you would not have made it to this point. You would have been stifled. You would have never matured to that level. That's the point that I'm trying to make. What it took him years to get to, other greats came into the league with that level of mental toughness that was ultimately able to propel them. And that is why he could never be MJ to me, because what he developed, MJ had walking in.
All right, so I want to ask a question on that. We're talking to Stephen A. Smith from First Take and also the Stephen A. Smith Show. The one thing that irks me, Stephen, is the comparison with the 96 Bulls beat the Golden State Warriors of today, and what rules are we playing? Those rules, today's rules, right. I get it. Here's my point. And I get you about the era, because this is the era these players play in, so these are the rules, so this is how they play. But one thing that you can't tell me is if LeBron James was born in 1962 like Michael Jordan was and came into the league then and was brought up on that type of basketball, that he wouldn't have played that type of basketball. That's what it makes people say, oh, you can't put those guys into that 80s era. Well, if that's the era they were brought up in and played in, then you probably would get a LeBron with that kind of 80s mentality if he played in that time period. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I couldn't argue with that, but you also have to remember, like, we talk about errors and how the games evolved, but we have to take into account there were flagrant rules changes that the NBA made to soften the game to some degree and make it more appealing to the human eye. They didn't want the bad boy Pistons. They didn't want the New York Knicks. They thought that it compromised the ratings amongst other maladies. Those were the incentives behind the game being modified to some degree. That's entirely different, Golic, than growing up in a different time and then people's mentality just changed or whatever. No, these were direct rule changes implemented for the sole express purpose of dissipating the physicality from the sport to make it more entertaining. That is entirely different than what happened in previous eras, and that's what can't be ignored either. So I look at that, and I say, okay, I'm looking at LeBron and his talent, his skill set, et cetera, and the man is phenomenal. But there was a level of mental toughness that he simply did not have. Ample evidence abound. The NBA Finals series against Dallas, certain playoff series. This man once passed up taking a winning shot in an exhibition all-star game. You remember when he tried to pass it in the corner to Melo and D. Wade, even Kobe, who was guarding him, and everybody else like, what are you doing? You can't even attempt to make a game-winning shot in a meaningless exhibition game? What's wrong with you? That's how compromised he was before he ended up going to Miami. So those are the kind of things we have to remember. It wasn't something that was a secret to anybody. The players, his contemporaries, coaches, all of us knew his talent was surreal. It was off the chart. But there was something missing in his mental makeup that Dwayne Wade helped him capture, which is why they're like brothers to this day, because he knows how much he owes Dwayne Wade for helping him mature to that point.
Yeah, like I said, I agree with that. I still go back and say if he was born in the 60s, that he would have grown up with that mental toughness, possibly. Again, these are things that we can never know, just like we can never pit the 96 Bulls against the 2017 Golden State Warriors.
I would say to you, the way I disagree with you, Golic, is that you can't say we would never know in this respect. Golic, there were guys that grew up in your era. You played with guys that were softer than you, did you not?
Yes.
I mean, didn't you play with guys that weren't as tough as you,
yes.
that were a bit softer than you, that didn't have the mental makeup that you and others had? We see that from every generation. There are some guys that just have it. There are some guys that it takes a while to develop it. And there are some guys that just will never, ever get it. LeBron was one of those guys. It took him a while to get to that point. That's all I'm saying. And that is the reason he will never get the edge over MJ for me, because of what MJ had to go through, what he had to endure, and how he was still tough. You got to remember, if MJ hadn't retired, hadn't stepped away, he might have won 8 straight. That's number one. And prior to that, if Scottie Pippen hadn't had the migraine, he might have won the title earlier. So we got to take into account the fact that there were things that got in his way where we looked at the Chicago Bulls and we said, oh, hell no, this ain't him. There were times in the past we looked at LeBron James and said, oh, that's you. That's you right there. You the one that didn't do this. We didn't do that with MJ. We never did.
Well, that's a great point. Stephen A., we'll leave you with this. We got the result we all expected a year ago. Ultimately, is a 4th straight finals matchup, Warriors-Cavs, a good or bad thing for basketball?
Me personally, I'm not going to say it's a bad thing because it's LeBron against the best team in the world. We get that. I would have liked to have seen Boston, but with Kyrie, not without him. I just think the plethora of injuries that took place that got in the way sort of compromised it to some degree. This is the best possible result considering the circumstances, but you can't help the feeling that, you know, things got interrupted. LeBron goes against Boston, no Kyrie. Golden State goes against Houston. CP3 can't play in games 6 and 7 after Houston beat them in game 4 and 5 and went up 3-2 in the series. It's just something that it just leaves you. You know, it's injuries, so it can't be helped. But there's just something that's missing because we don't really feel like it. Like the two best teams, we're watching them. We got to remember the two best teams in the West, in Houston and Golden State as well. I didn't even bring up that point. So there is something that dilutes it to some degree. It's still LeBron against Golden State. You can't knock it, but there is a little something missing because of those injuries that took place that got in the way that has you looking at both Golden State and Cleveland and questioning whether or not they really would have been here had those injuries not occurred.
First Take, 10 a.m. to noon on ESPN. Stephen A. Smith Show, 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio, whether he's going into the Lincoln Tunnel or doing it from Bristol. Always appreciate the time, Stephen A.
Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you, guys.
You know, listen, we can have that, and you can always have the debate because there's no answer to it about what I asked about LeBron or any player going back. And he's right. Listen, when I played in an era, there were tough guys and there were guys that weren't so tough. Yeah. I guess my point is he did learn that over time, and Stephen brings up a great point about how Dwayne Wade helped him establish that. I guess that would be my point. Now you're growing up in an era, if you're born in the 60s, where that is around you at all times. So we can't look at him how he came into the league in the early 2000s as how he would have come into the league in the mid-'80s. I know I'm doing this when there's no real answer. Yeah. But to sit there to say it couldn't have happened and he would have had to develop again, you can say it, but I can also say what I said. If he's around that growing up and he's around people at an earlier age that has this toughness mentality, maybe he would have got it at an earlier age and came into the league as a 6'8", 270-pounder and just maybe would have abused people had that been established in him at a young age. Again, something we'll never know, so it's a completely an opinion thing. Yeah. But I get what Steven's saying, though. I do understand it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a fun hypothetical, and you're right. We're in the comparison game. Ultimately, people love lists. People like trying to compare different eras. And for so many people right now, they're going to say, all right, if LeBron wins this will be his greatest accomplishment. Now maybe he's better than Jordan as the GOAT. Bottom line is just enjoy the greatness that we're seeing right now.
At Trex, we know there's a place for wood in your backyard. We recommend the fire pit. But when it comes down to choosing the right material for your next deck, look no further than the superior beauty and durability of the world's #1 premium decking brand. Trex delivers the look of wood without all of the work and the worry, and it's made from 95% recycled materials, which makes it the right choice for your backyard 100% of the time. To learn how to make Trex your next deck, visit Trex.com to order samples.
I'm a one-trick pony, literally. I show up at kids' parties and act cute. That's pretty much it. So excuse me for being bitter. When Geico says not only could we save you money on car insurance, but we do more. Like give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or even via our award-winning mobile app. Well, ooh la la. Aren't they multi-talented? Hey, I said organic carrots.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Yeah, in the annals of like fanatical athlete crushes, you got Trey Wingo and Tiger Woods, me and Roger Federer.
Yes.
There's nobody, like, who was your guy, and maybe as a kid, or anybody that you idolized, admired, revered? Like, I know now you go, Dick Butkus.
Oh, Dick Butkus, I would watch before my high school games. I had the tape back when you had to put it actually on the projector. Kids are going, what? What's he talking about, Dad? What does he mean? What is that? Don't you just hit a button? So I would watch that before I'd go to my high school game, just his hits, because I love the way he played.
Yeah.
And it was got to meet him a couple of times. Very, very cool. I mean, you just think of what a player he was. So yeah, that was kind of would watch him to try and get jacked up to go play a game.
He embodied the sport. He had a famous quote which he said, "What I miss about the game is the violence." Like he relished the contact. He loved the physicality
just
of it,
incredible when that film of watching him. I'll never forget when he hit a guy and he was like over the top of him. He hit him and drove him into the ground, and he was on top of the guy and like sat up, and the guy sat up as well. And he was mad the guy sat up, I think, because he didn't hurt him, and hit him again with his forearm right in the face and knocked him. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, that's cool.
You don't get up till I tell you to get up, all right?
What do you mean? You mean I didn't hit you hard enough and you're getting up? No, we can't have that.
All right, Dick Butkus is your guy. Everyone's got a guy. We'll talk about a couple of star athletes in just a second, but that Bryan Colangelo burner story is unbelievable. Multiple Twitter accounts allegedly. This is a statement from the Philadelphia 76ers organization. An online media outlet filed a story linking multiple social media accounts to 76ers president of basketball operations, Bryan Colangelo. The allegations are serious, and we have commenced an independent investigation into the matter. We will report the results of that investigation as soon as it is concluded. I mentioned he used to be an executive in Toronto for the Raptors for years, won Executive of the Year. I covered him, thought he was a nice guy, did a good job, although he was a little bit paranoid. And Steve Simmons of the Toronto Sun tweeted this: in his time running the Raptors, Bryan Colangelo's overt media paranoia was evident to anyone who disagreed with him. This shocking Twitter scandal being investigated now is not necessarily out of character, I would contend.
So in a thumbnail, what it is there's 5 burner accounts to which Bryan Colangelo has admitted to one of those, one not being his, that he has to, as he said, check out news in the industry. He said those 4 other accounts associated with him are not his. In some of those, he is ripping other players, talking about other players, their medical side of it, trade side of it, ripping other executives in the league as well. So in this day and age, you got to believe you can find out, who it's all coming from. When the Ringer, who broke the story, called the 76ers about 2 of those sites, the other 3 went coincidentally or not, it's up to you to decide, from public to private pretty quickly. So that's where the investigation is going. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
Joel Embiid, from his side of it, says, he's read everything, heard everything. He said Bryan Colangelo called him, and basically Joel Embiid said, I got to take him at his word right now, that it was just the one, that the others aren't his, and Joel Embiid said basically, we'll wait and see. Obviously, if it turns out he was part of the other ones, and that's going to be pretty bad.
It runs the gamut from childish and petty and odd to literally you're running afoul of the job.
Yeah,
because Mike Jr. said earlier, you can't throw out possible trade secrets and information like that. It's just, it's abhorrent in so many ways.
Well, you're going to lose, obviously wrong, but if he is guilty of this, losing the trust of everybody,
right,
of what you're doing around a guy, is he somewhere in some account, tweeting this out? I mean, it will be the end of him. But we'll wait. We'll wait and see. But who doesn't wait is the court of public opinion.
Yeah.
That is out there, and that's really frying him right now, and we'll see where it goes. But as the 76ers said, and you said in that statement, they're going to look into it, investigate it. We'll see what happens.
Adnan Virk in for Trey. It's Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. As always, we are presented by Progressive Insurance. Well, I mentioned some of the greats of the game. You heard Trey, his excitement about Tiger there on the rejoin coming back. Tiger Woods and Peyton Manning. That's right, 2 of the greats of all time, paired together during the Memorial Tournament's official Pro-Am today.
Yeah.
And the similarities with these 2 iconic athletes is amazing.
It really is.
Both came up at the same time. Both began their collegiate careers in 1994. Tiger won his first major, the Masters, in 1997. Peyton would finish second in Heisman voting that year. As for all-time greats, here's the numbers. Peyton's second most wins by a starting quarterback in NFL history. Regular season and playoffs combined, tied for the second most regular season wins. Emphasis on second. Tiger has the second most PGA Tour wins and majors of all time. Peyton, NFL MVP, a record 5 times. Tiger, PGA Tour Player of the Year, a record 11 times.
And then obviously the injuries. Peyton with the spinal fusion surgery missed the entire 2011 season. Tiger, the back fusion surgery and other surgeries as well. He missed had a 29-month span where he both bounced back from those. People forget back. Remember, in 2013, he was a PGA Tour Player of the Year. Tiger was winning then, and we know Peyton bounced back from spinal fusion surgery to win the MVP in 13 and then the Super Bowl following 2015 season, even though it wasn't a great year for him. Mm-hmm. Other things that I think are intriguing. Now, when you're on the field and when you have audibles and things like that, you have to relay information to the rest of your team at the line of scrimmage, but the defense is there, so you always have to code things at times. And certainly as a defense, you try and figure them out. Well, one of the things when Peyton was playing for the Colts, at times at the line, if you're changing a player, if there are 2 plays up there for whatever reason, if you need to give the snap count again, somebody out there forgets a snap count, they're not just going to say, hey, it's on 1 or it's on 2. Mm-hmm. They're going to code it. And the way Peyton did it, and you would change it up as well, but one of the ways he did it was if it was on 1, he would say Tiger. And if it was on 2, he'd say Phil. Because at that time, awesome. Tiger was number 1 in the world and Phil was number 2. Yeah. So if the snap count was on 2, he'd say Phil, 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 so everybody knew it was on 2. And you change those things up so the defense doesn't pick them up. But that's some of the things you do, and that's what he did. So they were talking after Peyton went to the Denver Broncos, and they were talking, and Tiger said, what's the difference between the Colts offense and the Denver Broncos offense. Mm-hmm. And Peyton said not much, offenses, especially, you're going to Denver, you're playing Peyton's offense if he's there. Mm-hmm. He said the one change was, he said, now I say, when I have to audible, McElroy is number 1, and I say when it's on 2, Tiger. Because McElroy was 1 and Tiger was 2 right at that point. He said Tiger looked him dead in the eye and said, well, I'm going to get that fixed because he wanted to be number 1. But how wild is that when you hear all those different audibles? Some you'll hear Sunday, Monday. Those are what the snap count is on for one, and changes up. But that's pretty. Tiger and Phil and McElroy and Tiger. It's pretty cool.
And true to his word, Tiger won the WGC Cadillac Championship that month, reclaimed the number 1 world ranking, ending Rory McIlroy's 32-week rated top spot. And Peyton said Tiger, they'd called him, make sure Tiger was back to 1 of the step counts.
That's just fantastic, and it was pretty cool. For Tiger's Foundation, when he has his tournament, did you see that a guy paid for that pro-am? Mm-hmm. Some guy bid $50,000 in an auction to be his caddy. Wow. So you raise great money for that. But I was saying, you're caddying for Tiger. You really giving him any kind of info, or you're just the mule lugging the bag? Can I get you anything, Tiger? Just hand me the club. I say,
I would kind of read the lie like this. Yeah. You see Tiger's
Tiger says, "Give me the 7." No. I think you should go 6 here.
Definitely.
But what a great pairing there.
Omaha, the most famous one, right?
Omaha is very simple. Omaha just means next sound you snap the ball. Oh, okay. So that's what it means, because you hear Eli and others there'll be buzzwords. Omaha was that word for a while. Right. When you're making checks at the line, and then once you're done, you say Omaha. That means the next sound that's made, the center's going to snap the ball. So everybody get ready and get going. Right. Say Omaha. So okay, the ball's coming on the next sound.
Gotcha.
That's basically what that was. As I said, Eli would do it. Others would do it.
Yeah. What if the next sound is Omaha?
No. Omaha, you can't. That's on the quarterback. Oh, once he says Omaha, the next sound, if it's snapped and he isn't ready for it, that's on him. It is his job to, when everything is set, that if he wants the ball in the next sound, he's going to say Omaha. That means next sound I say, you snap the ball. So if he says Omaha, and then there's a silence, and he says Omaha again, and they snap the ball, and he wasn't ready for it, that's on him. That's on him. And at that point, you know what you do? If you say Omaha and the defense changes and you don't like it, next thing you do is say timeout. That's what you do. Say, okay, this isn't working the way I want it to.
Oh,
what a great pairing, though. I don't know how Peyton is. I'm sure he's, most quarterbacks are good golfers because, all they do is wear red jerseys at practice.
I was going to say, a little more downtime, right? The pitchers in baseball. Like, exactly, what a surprise. John Smoltz.
Are you
so
a golfer,
good.
by the way?
No, never golfed at all. I don't have the patience for it. I don't think I'd be very good at it, quite frankly.
Yeah.
It's a lot of time you got to put out there. I mean, to actually be good at it, you got to put a lot of time.
I have people that I've golfed with. I used to golf with Greeny a decent amount, and he would say, take some lessons, you could be better. And I'm like, I don't want to. As I said, I shoot low 90s, drunk or sober. I shoot well enough to not be a problem to everybody else out there.
Right.
To not have to always go look for my ball. I'll shoot well enough for that. And if I start taking it serious, then I'll start. Then if I start playing bad, I'll get mad. I don't want to. I don't want to. I just want to accept the way I play. Play mostly in scramble, so I don't have to play my ball all the time and get my ball right out of the rough there and put it in the middle of the fairway where somebody else hit it. And I'm happy.
And most of the time you're inebriated. So it's a win for all.
There you go.
Coming up next, a curious case of mistaken identity.
Delta is here to help people in pursuit of their goals. And with the ease of booking travel on the Fly Delta app, pursuing your goals has never been easier. You'll also get notifications as you go, giving you peace of mind throughout your journey.
Tweets from the 100flowers.com Twitter feed. A lot of tweets coming in, Adnan, about you looking like Chris Chelios. A couple of guys at the airport looked at you. You had a Team Canada hat on, which should have been a dead giveaway that you weren't. And you took a picture with them and said you were Chelios, which is amazing. Thomas tweets in, eyebrows, nose, mouth, and shape of face is different. Other than that, it's a perfect match.
Kirk tweeting in, no way, not even close. One guy looks like he's been in a lot of fights. The other looks like he can't decide which makeup to wear.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Another, give Adnan a few broken noses and you got a match. You ever break your nose?
I have not.
I
have a big nose, but I have not broken my nose.
Never been broken. Never got in the way of a fist or anything or a wall or anything like that.
But I'll just say, no clumsy
You ever been
accident.
in a fight?
No.
Like a punching fight? Like a fight?
I think I threw a punch at a guy once and then some people, my friends immediately intervened knowing I was going to get destroyed.
Right.
And that's it. I've never been in
Let me ask you a question. So when you did that, did you throw your punch? There's a great, if you're watching on ESPN News, a split screen of Adnan and Chris Chelios. There is,
with me holding a football.
You're holding a football, and the football looks way too big for your hands, by the way.
It was with Galloway and Cannell like 3 years ago.
Wow. So let me ask you a question. When you got in that fight and threw that punch, did you throw the punch out of just anger or did you know when you threw it that your friends were going to jump in, or did you think this was going to be a fight?
No.
Adnan Virk is a huge movie buff. Cinephile podcast with our own Daniel Stanzik right there. Yeah. By the way, I think that's the only time Stanzik ever smiles is when he works on Cinephile instead of working on this show, which is understandable, Stanzik. I want to be clear about that.
He has confessed to me. He's hoping Cinephile goes 5 days a week.
Well, by the way, his reaction means he actually said that to you. You totally outed him. He could have brushed it off. He's like, oh my God, I can't believe he just said that.
Stanzik does never smile on this show. Sports Center brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. To win in basketball, you have to have great coverage. And with Straight Talk Wireless, you know you're getting great coverage because they use the exact same 4G LTE towers as the big carriers, but for a whole lot less. Straight Talk Wireless, only at Walmart. Refer to terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com.
Once again, the big story of the day is not the fact the NBA Finals starts tomorrow. It's not the fact Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final tonight. It's not the fact the Yankees had a great win against the Astros. It's the fact the Sixers have launched an independent investigation into the reported Twitter habits of President of Basketball Operations Bryan Colangelo after reports surfaced detailing his use of multiple anonymous accounts to support his own work as well as to take shots at some of the team's players. The report by The Ringer cites circumstantial evidence that paints a picture of the NBA front office veteran using multiple anonymous Twitter accounts to support his work in Philly, take shots at some of his team's players, including Joel Embiid, Markelle Fultz, as well as former Sixers Jahlil Okafor and Nerlens Noel. Let me throw this one at you, Mike. Which of these acts is the most egregious? Because as I said, it goes from silly and petty and childish to mean-spirited. Which is the worst? Knocking a predecessor? Knocking another GM? Knocking your own players or knocking players that aren't there anymore? All of these allegedly Bryan Colangelo.
Well, I would say on players. Right. I would go down that road, especially if you're giving out info about trades or information about injuries.
Right.
That I think would be the worst thing because there's about peers, you're talking about and such. But I think it would be about players and anything going on either on the court or ripping a player. I mean, what you do, because basically you're the president of the operations, which means you're running the show. Mm-hmm. And if you lose the trust, especially of the players, I mean, wow, that's a tough call right there. And listen, just what he's doing. I don't know about the legalities of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, of if he is doing it. Many people have burner accounts. I don't think there's anything illegal about that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, information he's giving out as a president of basketball operations, is he giving out info about injuries? That I don't know what, again, not illegal to the laws I'm talking about, but in looking in the sport, maybe with HIPAA. I don't know. I don't know how
code
far
of conduct,
this goes. But you're right. Code of conduct. If he is found to have some of these burner accounts, I mean, it's going to end it for him, right? And I mean, what a basketball family he comes from with Jerry Colangelo, what he's done for USA basketball.
Legend.
And both of them, you know, obviously with the Phoenix Suns, he was out there when I was out there doing local radio, and that would be something. Mm-hmm. So, and it's hard to believe that a person that attached to the game would go down this road, but you do hear stories of how sensitive he can be to any type of criticism. So is this a way to, you know, kind of unload yourself?
Right. Say stuff without, that you can't say.
Exactly. So I don't know. We'll see where this goes. We'll see if there's proof in all of this.
In the Ringer's Colangelo story, they cite one tweet from the burner accounts comparing Ben Simmons and Embiid. This is from Brett Parada, who found this for us. Ben is going to be better than Joel and less distracted by models and social media. Also news today, Ben Simmons is now reportedly dating Kendall Jenner, a model from the social media obsessed Kardashian.
How about that? Ben Simmons, Kendall Jenner. Wow.
That's your latest duo. Speaking of duos, crazy to think about, but somebody in the world, in fact, two people in the world, think I look like Chris Chelios.
Yeah.
If you missed the story
I'm
earlier,
amazed.
I'm flying back from Monterrey, Mexico, called the Padres Dodgers. I'm in a Detroit airport wearing a Team Canada hat.
Team Canada hat. Chris Chelios was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, I believe.
Proud American.
Yes.
Bled, sweat, and tears for USA Hockey. When I met him, I worked in the World Cup of Hockey, 2016, him and Brett Hall. The first thing he said to me, because I heard you're Canadian, I hate Canadians. All my life I've played
Did
Canadians.
he say that to you?
He goes, God, I hate Canadians.
love him.
He goes,
That's
every all my life I've
Did
played
he punch you then?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I was just
you seem
wondering.
okay, but he goes, every Canadian hockey, my whole life, and every time tell me, I could have been a good player. Hey, I was pretty good. I might hurt my shoulder. It was bad luck. So this is the thing. When I'm wearing a Team Canada hat, you got to know, hang on, I'm not Chris Chelios, but this guy was talking to his buddy. He leaned over, and I was reading the Tiger Woods book by Jeff Benedict and Armin Katayan, and he said the magic words, "Excuse me, Mr. Chelios, can I get a picture?" And I had that moment, Mike, that no, I'm not Chris Chelios, thanks. But I said, no, why would I do that? This is too much fun. This is too good a story to turn down.
Wow, played along.
So I stood up, I took a picture of the guy, and I said, oh, you're big hockey fans, big Blackhawks fans? He goes, oh, Red Wings. I'm like, oh, Red Wings, of course. I'm in Detroit. You
right. Yeah.
I said, oh, we had some good years there, guys. Now I'm trying to sound more like Chelios, so I don't know if I actually did in the moment.
Because you worked with him.
Right. So I actually know Chelios, worked with them, and they were like, all right. And then they said, oh, you're on this flight. They were flying to Nashville. I wish I had been on the flight. Although maybe then the roost would have been up. Like the longer you do it, it's like a heist. You got to get in, get out. The longer you go there, hang on a second. Are you not?
They're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Right.
Wait, you don't look like.
So they took pictures with you.
Took pictures of me.
I'm sure passing around that picture, sending it to people who are going to think how cool it is that they got a picture of Chris Chelios.
The best part, honestly, I don't know how I did not break character of being Chris Chelios, is when the guy said, this is going up on my mantelpiece for sure.
So how long ago was this?
This is 3 weeks ago.
So I wonder between then and now, had they been told you guys got duped. You guys got duped by the captain. I mean, I wonder, or if they're sports guys, so whether they listen or watch the show, or maybe some of their friends do, are going to let them know, hey, you know that picture you have with Chelios? It's the captain. You know, I mean,
you met a captain.
Just not the captain.
You did not make the captain of USA Hockey, the Red Wings, the Blackhawks.
That is amazing, especially if they still have not figured that out or nobody has told them. Because if they sent that picture around, that would be amazing if nobody called them on it.
Chris Chelios is 3 inches taller than me. He's significantly better shape.
Yeah.
He's about 10 years older.
Yeah, there is a kind of a you kind of do a little bit.
See, you think it's there a little bit without.
Yeah, I would never mistake you for him, but
you don't think it's the craziest thing in the world. Tomorrow we're gonna have a doctor as a football player and Stu Gotts. Golic and Wingo. You don't want to.